Right, okay. You lot, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can catch all of our videos. And if you're really interested in the Krays, join our private Facebook group, Krays Crime Lords of London. You'll find over 1,000 videos and thousands of images. We're moderated and friendly. Come and give us a try.
Hi, in this recording I'm going to talk about the Watney Street Gang, Bobby Ramsey, the Charlie Martin case, my ex-wife Dolly, the Regal Billiard Hall, and the trouble we had in the Double R Club when we first opened it. The Regal Billiard Hall became more and more popular. The twins ensured there were no fights or disorders of any kind that might bother the police, and the business still made money. Inevitably, though, it became a meeting place for thieves, where robberies were planned. The twins were never involved, I know. But if any of the pals they helped out had a good tickle, I'm sure the twins made sure their debts were repaid with interest. All was going well. The twins, particularly Reggie, were becoming more ambitious and thinking of opening a more respectable club where decent East End families could go. And then Bobby Ramsey turned up. He hadn't been at the billiard hall for several weeks, and when he arrived one hot August night in 1956, I learned why. He had been hit on the head with an iron bar during a fight with a gang from the Watney Street area, the other side of Commercial Road. Now that he had recovered, he wanted revenge. He'd come into the billiard hall with a pal, Billy Jones, and asked Ronnie to go with them to a local pub called the Britannia. A villain called Charlie Martin, who had wielded the iron bar, was drinking there with Jimmy Fullerton, a local tearaway, who'd helped in the attack. Ramsey was in a dangerous mood. He said he had several weapons in his car, including a bayonet. He asked Ronnie to go with him. Before they left, Ronnie went behind the bar. He opened a drawer and took out a loaded revolver. Martin and Fullerton were not at the Britannia, but Martin's younger brother Terry was. On the principle that one of the Watney Street mob was better than none, he was dragged outside. Ramsey, his bayonet tucked in his trousers, laid into him, then pulled out the bayonet and stuck it up the young man's backside. At that time, East End gang feuds were commonplace. Normally, a victim was carted off to hospital, mouths were kept shut, and the police never got involved. But that night, Ramsey was a reckless fool. As he drove away from the Britannia, he got stopped for speeding. The officers in the patrol car couldn't believe their luck when they found a blood-stained bayonet, a crowbar, and an axe in the car. Ramsey, Jones, and Ronnie were arrested. At the station, the gun was found in Ronnie's pocket. It had not been fired, but that made little difference. While the three of them were being questioned, a report came in that a man had been taken to the London hospital with serious stab wounds. The police put two and two together and spoke to Terry Martin, who confirmed he had been attacked. The case against Ramsey, Jones and Ronnie was cast iron, and on the 5th of November 1956, they appeared at the Old Bailey charged with causing grievous bodily harm. Reggie too was charged, even though he wasn't aware of the attack until afterwards. Ramsey was jailed for 7 years. Jones and Ronnie got 3 years each. Reggie, thankfully, was justly acquitted. But the immediate future would be difficult for him too. As identical twins, he and Ronnie had lived virtually in each other's pockets all their lives. Now, for the first time, they were going to have to exist separately. Dolly and I were still living at Valence Road, but were desperate to find a place of our own. Mum was kind and understanding, as usual, and treated Dolly like a daughter, and the old man, bless him, was a diamond. But a house, no matter how warm and friendly, is not the same unless it's your own, and I was always on the lookout for a place where Dolly and I could live a proper and private family life. In those early days, Dolly was a good wife. She didn't make friends easily and was extremely possessive and money mad, but she seemed to care for me and Gary and was very neat and clean about the house. She was a highly strung woman, with a vivid imagination though, and when Gary needed surgery to correct a squint, she convinced herself he would be blind for the rest of his life. I'd had a couple of insights into her strange behaviour when we were courting. Often Dolly would stay overnight at Valence Road, sleeping with Mum upstairs while I shared the twins' room downstairs. Once, at about 3 in the morning, there was an almighty crash, and I found Dolly staggering around in the hall, covered in blood. She'd had a nightmare and thrown herself through a closed window onto the scullery roof. Amazingly, she escaped with just a badly cut face. The other occasion was when I was boxing in a competition in Watford. Dolly was at the ringside, having seen me qualify for the semi-final. But when she saw the man I was to meet knock out his opponent in the first round, she fled. She came back after I'd won the competition, but I don't know to this day whether it was the prospect of seeing me hammered that made her run, or the thought that I wouldn't win the £15 prize money. Life on the knocker did have its moments, and I'd get a terrific buzz coming home with a load of gear that would fetch 10 times as much as I'd paid, but I was eager to better our standard of living. The chance came when Reggie and I became closer in Ronnie's absence. Reggie was a real go-getter, and when he came across a dilapidated old house near Poplar Town Hall, only 200 yards from Bow Police Station, he saw the potential immediately. He asked me to help him renovate it, and with the help of a few mates, we transformed that house into a sparkling club with a stage and dancing area. The East End had never seen anything like it before. We named it the Double R, after the twins. The only clubs around at that time were dives, dark and dingy, men only, drinking places where pints were pulled, but punches were not. We wanted the Double R to be different. We didn't want the billiard hall clientele, layabouts and villains who liked a bit of trouble. We wanted the club to have a family atmosphere, a club where respectable working men could enjoy a quiet drink and listen to a band with their wives and families. It took us 6 months to make our point. The local tearaways had never seen anything like the Double R and assumed it was a dive like all the other places in the area, and they treated it as such. Few unwanted visitors got by our 22-stone doorman, Big Pat Connolly, but one quiet afternoon when security was relaxed, 3 burly coalmen barged in. They were covered in coal dust and leaned against the newly decorated walls, demanding drinks. Reggie quietly asked them to leave. They started to argue, and one of them aimed a punch at Reggie. I was serving behind the bar and raced round to give Reggie a hand. It wasn't necessary. By the time I arrived, all 3 were laid out. Reggie was extremely swift to nip problems in the bud. He hit first and did not bother to ask questions afterwards. One night, an over-enthusiastic customer made the mistake of trying to take the microphone from a woman singing on stage. Reggie took the microphone away and handed it back to her. The customer's second mistake was trying drunkenly to pull our mum up from her table to dance when she was happy minding her own business. Reggie felled him with a right hook, then ordered him to be carried out. 2 days later, the customer came back and, rather sheepishly, apologized. I'd always settled disputes with words, not fists, and up to the day we opened the Double R, I'd never had a fight outside the ring. I had had arguments with the twins over this when they resorted to violence. I told them they should not get involved in fights, but they would sneer and say I had no idea what was going on, what it was like when someone was spoiling your business. I found myself taking a different view when the troublemakers started getting busy at the Double R. After all the hard work that had gone into transforming that Bow Roadhouse, I was damned if I was going to stand by and watch some mindless Jack-the-Lads ruin the venture before it had properly started. So, when there was no other way out, I met violence with violence. I spoke to the idiots in the language they understood, and since I was fit and technically well equipped, I was able to handle myself more than adequately.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please join our Facebook group. It's called Krays Crime Lords of London. We're a friendly moderated group with over 1,000 Kray and other celebrated gangster videos available for view. There's also thousands of images in the photos sections. The link for the group is in the YouTube description section. I hope we see you there soon.
Leave a like and subscribe.